Welcome to episode 6 of my brand new Aquascaping Beginners guide. In this mini-series I'm starting completely from scratch so I can show you everything you need to know about aquascaping from start to finish. I'll be setting up 2 tanks, one low-tech and one high-tech, so there's something for everybody. I'll show you what equipment you need, how to create nice hardscapes and select the right plants, how to deal with algae and just general maintenance. If you want to start aquascaping or just get better at it, then this one is for you. Okay, episode number 6 of the 2025 Aquascaping Beginners Guide. I think this will be the second to last episode, maybe one more after this. But in this episode, it's all about maintenance. We're going to maintain these 2 tanks. I'm going to show you how I do it, how I make maintenance enjoyable, because I think a lot of people don't enjoy maintenance. So I'm going to show you how I do it. And also just give you some tips and tricks about algae, fertilizer, all those kind of things. Let's just get started. Okay, let's start with just a quick update on both tanks. In real time, it has been 1 week since the previous episode. So I'm going to overlay 2 clips of the tanks, show you side by side from a week ago and from now, just to kind of show you guys how much the plants have grown in 7 days time. Now, to be honest with you, the low-tech tank is still looking pretty good. It doesn't really need a maintenance session. I mean, the glass might be a little bit dirty, there might be some algae on the glass, but the stems, I could trim them. I could also just leave it for another week or another 2 weeks and there wouldn't really be any issues. Now the high-tech tank, however, is in desperate need of some maintenance. If I would leave this one unattended for another 7 weeks, I'll probably run into some issues because all the stems are blocking the flow, so the CO2 is not being distributed properly anymore. And of course we have to deal with this big floating portion of moss. This came from the middle over here. Or it just got too big, maybe some air bubbles got stuck in there and they just disattached and float up to the surface. Now, I think one of the key elements to a successful and enjoyable maintenance session is also choosing the right time, because you don't want to get interrupted during your maintenance session. So I like to do my maintenance on a Saturday morning. Normally during the week I wake up quite early, but on Saturday we kind of sleep in a little bit. So I wake up a little bit later, put on some comfortable clothes, make a large coffee for myself, put on some music, and then I just get to work. And I'll be here for a couple of hours because, I have a lot of tanks, but if you just have 1 or 2 tanks, it shouldn't really take you that long. I'm going to try to do this quite quickly as well. It is now 2:45. I have an appointment at 4, so I have an hour and 15 minutes to clean both tanks. Let's see if I can do it. Because this is kind of what I use for my cleaning sessions. So over here I have a container with some warm water and some bleach. I'm going to use this to soak the lily pipes. I have a fish net, I have an algae scraper, scissors, pin set, a TDS meter, a smaller fish net, a brush for the lily pipes as well, toothbrush, some hose clamps and a sponge to clean the algae. This one is nice because it has some metal over here as well, which actually doesn't scratch the glass, but it's good for some really stubborn algae. And then I siphon everything into a large bucket with this sort of like gravel cleaner type siphon. Okay, so I'm going to start with the high-tech tank. So I'm going to shut off the filter and the heater as well, and I'll shut off the CO2 as well. Then I like to start by just draining the tank a little bit. So I'll remove about 5 or 10% of the water. So just like that, and that's just to prevent water from spilling over the sides when I'm cleaning the glass. I'm going to take this bit of moss out as well because it's just in the way. So I'll keep that in the bucket. So then I'm just going to start with cleaning the glass. Now you can do this with this algae scraper. Works really well, as you can see. But because this tank has rounded corners, you can't really go there with the algae scraper. So it's actually easier to just use a sponge for this one. So I want to get all the algae off the glass, and then later when I'm going to siphon out the rest of the water, all that algae will be siphoned out as well. You can also leave the filter running during this, but sometimes it starts sucking in some air or something, I like to avoid that. Also because I've lowered the water level, like the outflow will start splashing a bit more, which I'm trying to avoid as well. Okay, so the front glass panel is now clean. I'll take care of the sides after I'm done trimming because right now I can't really see it properly. So let's move on to trimming. So I use these wave scissors. Normally you would use these just for the carpet, but they work well for everything, so that's what I'm using. So I'm just going to start somewhere, doesn't really matter, and I'm going to be quite brutal about this and just cut everything really short. I would say about 10 centimeters from the substrate. So I've trimmed quite a lot already, and now it's just starting to get in the way, so I'm just going to take everything out and drop all these stems in my water change bucket. And then we just keep going. Okay, that was pretty rough, right? Pretty brutal. Now I'd actually like to go over all the stems a second time and kind of trim everything into shape, because right now, it looks really brutal. So I kind of like to, keep a nice shape to the stems as well. So I'm going to cut a little bit at an angle this way and a little bit at an angle that way as well. Kind of create a bit of a V shape in the background. So that is all the background stems completely hacked off. Pretty brutal, but this will grow back in no time. Now the next step is to get rid of all those floating particles. You can scoop these out with the net, but I prefer to use a skimmer. So I'm just going to attach this onto the glass here, plug it in, and off we go. And that's going to make our life a lot easier. In the meantime, I can take care of these lily pipes. They're not super dirty, but I like to show you guys how I clean them. So just remove the suction cups from the glass, then carefully remove the hose from the pipe, like so. And then I like to use a little hose clamp to keep the hose attached to the glass so it doesn't fall down and starts draining half the filter. So lily pipes removed, and they're just going to go into my bleach bath. And the skimmer is starting to get a little bit clogged, so we just remove some of those big trimmings, and now I can just take care of the rest of the glass. Okay, glass is clean and the skimmer has removed all those little plant trimmings, so we're done with that. The good thing is we don't have to trim the carpet, so that's going to save us a lot of time. But I don't know why I have some Ludwigia green in the foreground, so I'm just going to remove these stems here. Then over here I also have some moss which is not really attached to anything, it's kind of just half floating, so I'm just going to remove this. Over here the Java fern is growing some new shoots or some new plants. Don't really like how that looks, so I'm just going to remove that as well. So that's all the trimming and cleaning basically done, so we can now drain the rest of the water. I'm going to go for a 50% water change. And actually attach this one to the glass, so I don't have to just stand around and wait. I can just let it go. And while the tank has been draining, I've just quickly cleaned the lily pipes. So I've just taken them out of the bleach bath, rinsed them under some hot water. Sometimes I also use them to chlorinator as well, but it's not really necessary. Just rinse them under some hot water, went through it with the pipe brush a couple of times, and now they're as good as new. Okay, I'd say that's about 50%. And now we can fill the tank back up again. This is where I get a lot of questions about my RO system. So up until 2 years ago, I was just using plain tap water for all my planted tanks. And my tap water is quite hard, but it still grows plants quite alright. But 2 years ago, I started my saltwater journey as well. And you can't really keep a saltwater tank with tap water. So that's when I had to invest into a RO filter. And I got quite a good one for a really good price. The RO filter is in the next room. It's our laundry room. I'll overlay a clip. And some people like to go from the RO filter, first fill up a reservoir, and then when they have enough water accumulated, they will pump it into the aquarium. But this one does 800 gallons per day, so I can actually just fill up straight from the filter. I don't need to fill up a reservoir first. But yeah, so I kind of got this RO filter for my saltwater tanks, but then kind of just started using it for my freshwater tanks as well, because in general, most freshwater plants prefer soft water, so that's why the RO water is excellent. So it's now 3:30, so that was 45 minutes for this maintenance session. Just need to wait for the tank to fill up. Of course, this was quite a big maintenance session as well. I would only do this kind of maintenance session maybe once a month. On the other weekends, it would just be a quick water change and maybe a little bit of glass cleaning, so it's a lot quicker as well. Now, while we're waiting for the tank to fill up, we can also talk about fertilizers. Actually very simple. I use two products, APT0 and APT3. Actually APT1 and APT3 is called. So the 3 is a complete liquid fertilizer and the 1 is not complete. This is potassium and also some micronutrients. So it's very simple. I will use the APT1 for the first 1 or 2 months, and after that I will switch to the APT3. The reason for that is very simple. You know, in the new setup we don't really need that much fertilizer just yet. We also have a lot of nutrients coming from the AQUASOIL, so APT1 is perfect. And then, you know, after 2 months, the nutrients from the AQUASOIL have kind of, you know, depleted a little bit, and the plants have grown a lot already, so we need more nutrients. So that's when I'm switching to the APT3, the complete liquid fertilizer. Yeah, and that's basically how I run all my tanks in my studio. So very simple. If you want to try this out, I have a link and a discount code in the video description. Almost forgot about that massive moss portion that floated up to the surface. So I'm just going to tear off a little bit. This we can use in a different scape or something. And then I'm just going to wedge this in there again. We could use some gel super glue, which kind of ran out, so I'm just going to do it like this. Okay, tank is almost full, so we can start the filter again. Now, because I filled the tank up with pure RO water, that means that the tank is now missing some minerals. So if I measure the TDS, I don't think the camera's picking it up because it's a very small screen, but now it says 68. Preferably I want this to be around 120. So we need to add some minerals back in. So I already have some pre-mixed in a little bottle, and I'm just gonna pour that in. Then I'm just gonna let that dissolve for 15-20 minutes, and then I'll check back again with the TDS meter to see if we're at 120. It is now 3:45, so basically the whole maintenance session, including the filming and all the talking, took me 1 hour. I think that's pretty good. Of course, we're now left with a bucket full of really healthy stems. Some people like to actually replant some of those stems because, of course, the background is looking pretty rough right now. I mean, you could put some stems back, make it look nice again, but I mean, I'm already happy with the density of stems that we have in the background, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. It'll be ugly for a week or two, but that's totally fine. So we could actually use these stems in our low tech tank to, you know, add a little bit more density to this aquarium. But I'm not sure if that's fair to this series, this experiment. So guys, let me know in the comments, should I use these stems in this tank or not? Okay, so that's both tanks trimmed and cleaned. I think that's pretty straightforward. So just a quick recap. First drain a little bit of water, then clean the glass, then trim the plants. After that, remove all the trimmings, clean the lily pipes, drain more water, fill it back up with clean water, and that's it basically. Now I was thinking of also discussing algae in this episode, but you know guys, algae is such a broad topic. It's impossible to squeeze it all in just one video. So what I'm going to do instead, I'll leave my full algae playlist in the video description. There's 14 videos there with a ton of information. And I'm sure you guys will, if you have any questions about algae, I'm sure you'll find the answer there. If you don't find the answer there, then just drop a comment below this video and I'll make sure to get back to you. So that's it for this episode. Like I said, this is the second to last one. So there will be one more after this, which will be the full cost breakdown of both tanks. I think I will make that video in a couple of weeks when both tanks have, you know, recovered from the maintenance session and they look really good again. So for now, this is it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.